Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in today for my weekly Sunday live stream. I really appreciate you being here. Hope it's a nice day where you are. Hope you've all been wearing your masks in public. I'm going to take mine off so I can sing for you. I'd like to welcome my digital concierge, Barbie Angel, with 2 L's, and hopefully she will be dropping URLs into the chat window. It may or may not let her, but all of the information on where my tip jars are, my Patreon page, where you can buy my recorded music, it's all in the description just below the video window on the YouTube page. So if Barbie's not able to drop it in, you can find it there. You can also find it on the closing photo at the end of this live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Let's start off with a baseball song. This is about the very first white man to ever play in the Negro Leagues, and his name was Eddie Clapp.
Changed. It had beaten back the Nazis, but the Jim Crow laws remained. There was talk of staging marches, talk of civil rights, talk about a Negro playing baseball with the whites. Well, he walked into the clubhouse, card players quit playing. Everybody stopped in the middle of whatever they were saying. And it was just like when the sheriff walks into the saloon and he says, "My name is Eddie," as he looks around the room. Here to play baseball. The manager said to the team, "We're all gonna have to live with this." Oh, that's not what I mean, you know what I mean. And they all did. It went without saying. And the card players looked at their hands and they went on with their playing. Off the field before a game in Birmingham one night. They made him sit up in the grandstands in the section marked for whites. In his Cleveland Buckeyes uniform, it was a new twist on the law. The marshals kept their eyes on him and the hecklers ate him raw. He should have run the bases in reverse. A white man in the Negro Leagues, well, that had to be a first. He could not ride the same buses, stay in the same motels, and he could not eat in the same restaurants. He couldn't have mixed clientele. So while Jackie played for Brooklyn, wore the Dodger blue, Eddie crossed the color line, the one without a cue. A white man in the Negro Leagues might as well have been a Jew. And now you mention the name of Eddie Clapp, most everyone says, who?
And Eddie Clapp was a real piece of work, apparently. He was arrested several times. I know he was arrested for arson. He was arrested for burglary. Spent a bunch of time in and out of jail. I got a chance to speak with his widow, at one point after I wrote the song. And she said Eddie was always coming and going, and she called him an SOB. Who knows? Today's show, as all of my live streams are, is a pay what you want to situation. There's no ticket price, so if you'll kindly take a look in the description of the video today, just below the video window, and you'll see that it says my digital tip jars are there. Also, my Bandcamp site and my website are there. You can download all my music on a pay what you want basis at Bandcamp. You can also become my patron if you're interested in doing that, where you would support me on a monthly basis, and it can be from anywhere as low as $1 a month to any amount that you would be comfortable with. And this gives me a little bit of security in these times when I have none otherwise. I offer special things to my patrons, like, for example, this week I'm going to have a couple of chats with my patrons where they can ask me any questions they might have about songwriting or my life as a touring musician, or anything they want to ask me, and we'll hang out online a couple of different times this week. It's also where I might debut a new song, or I don't know, things that I just might not share otherwise with the general public, but I'll share with my patrons. And that URL also is in the description of this video. This is called The Boys in the Back Room.
Boys in the back room who used to run the city any way they wanted to. They were stealing from the kitty, stomping out the cigars any place they wanted to. Well, you could go to jail for, they could do in front of you. The boys in the back room sat on the commissions that were supposed to regulate factory emissions. Toxins in the air, toxins in the water. These were our protectors. They were sanctioning the slaughter. The boys in the back room, they didn't like attention, drawn to their activities, which the paper never mentioned. Thanks to the editor, who was a good old friend of theirs. This was the police chief, and also the developers. The boys in the back room, they went golfing every Sunday. They had a game of pinochle that happened every Monday. Tuesdays were the meetings where the public was invited, where they went through all the motions, but no wrongs were ever righted. The boys in the back room on Wednesdays traded favors. They had a secret handshake and other such behavior. They fixed traffic tickets, granted exemptions and waivers, awarded city contracts to associates and neighbors. Back room, they were desperate to hold on, assassinating characters of whoever might have told on them. But the day did finally come when they stood before the jury. Some guy sent to prison. It was a one-paragraph story. The boys in the back room, who just used to make the rules any way they wanted to. They thought that they still had the people fooled.
And they don't. Well, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You're not fooling me. So this next song is a story of a jealous woman who, it turns out, was my ex-wife. And she used to be very, very jealous of the fact that I used to travel around with a female traveling partner. And this is how that went.
Woman, says my wife, she's who you trust with your life. Listen to her more than you do me. Well, I said, you just tell me where to go, but how to get there, you don't know. She never asked if we can stop and pee. Yeah, I think that other gal knows best, north and south, east and west. I hardly pay attention anymore. At night sometimes I hear her voice, British Emily, not Australian Joyce. Now my dreams would take a little detour. Now once she told me to turn onto a dirt road, but all night long it had just snowed, and not even the highway had been plowed. Well, I did not turn, I kept going straight, and she kept saying recalculate and make a U-turn when allowed. Well, sometimes we might disagree, all the while she yells at me. I yell back, well, shut her up. I call her a whore, call her a witch, call time out and I flip the switch for some peace and quiet she can't interrupt. Well, satellite connection dropped, I pulled over and I stopped. Spaghetti Junction was coming up ahead. It's been years since I last had a map all spread out across my lap, and I wish it could have talked to me instead. Ramps to the left and ramps to the right, there wasn't another soul in sight. It wasn't whizzing by at 75. My teeth were clenched, my knuckles white. That's when we had another big fight. She refused to say which way to drive. Well, sometimes we might disagree, all the while she yells at me and nothing I yell back will shut her up. Call her a whore, call her a witch, call time out and I flips the switch to peace and quiet she can't interrupt. Well, now one time when I drove all day, just one road a long, long way, I got caught up in thinking, as you do. But she froze to death and I did not know. I'd missed my exit hours ago, and I never even saw her face turn blue.
Like a lot of old songs, this one here has a bit of an low verse. If you think that might upset you, just hold ears for a minute.
Well, I mount her and I turn her on, and she tells me I'm her Don Juan in ways only my Emily can do. Oh, that's her out there in the car, one who does know where we are, and it turns out all she needed was a screw. Well, sometimes we might disagree, all the while she yells at me, and nothing I yell back will shut her up. A Phillips head. Call her a whore, call her a witch, call time out and I flip the switch for some peace and quiet she can't interrupt. Well, that other woman, says my wife, she's who you trust with your life. Listen to her more than you do me. Well, it's true I do, 'cause she knows the route. She's the one that has the mute. She came with an extended warranty. My British Emily.
Now, some people prefer the old-fashioned way, with maps and step-by-step directions. So if that's you, here's how you get to my place.
off of the interstate. Oh, when you get off of the interstate, when you get to the end of the ramp, make a left and go basically straight. You've got to go several miles. You've got to go several miles. Might make you wonder after a while, but you've got to go several miles. Then you will go over the gap. Then you will go over the gap. You might not find it on just any old map, but you've got to go over the gap. There'll be a field of corn. There'll be a field of corn. It's at the end of that field of corn, and that is if the weather is warm. Now it's just past the third dead cat. Just past the third dead cat. Just past the one that's especially flat. Just past the third dead cat. Now turn right on the gravel road. Turn right on the gravel road. Soon as you see it, you're just gonna know it. Turn right on the gravel road. And if you get to the church, turn back. If you get to the church, turn back. Do a U-turn. If you get to the church, the one with the historical plaque. And now that gravel road's gonna split. That gravel road's gonna split. Keep left where the gravel road splits, so you don't go off in the ditch. And now go up and around the red shack. Go up and around the red shack. Take a look at what they got out back as you go up and around the red shack. Drive right through the pack of hounds. Drive right through the pack of hounds. And they'll all get up from the lying down to play chicken with you, so don't go around. Brace yourself for the hill. Brace yourself for the hill. Take a deep breath. Summon your will. Brace yourself for the hill. Go all the way to the top. Go all the way to the top. Don't forget to breathe and put down your pop. And whatever you do, don't stop. You'll find the key on the ledge. You'll find the key on the ledge. There's wood on the porch, beer in the fridge. You'll find the key on the ledge. And it's just past the third dead cat. Just past the third dead cat. The one that looks like a welcome mat. Just past the third dead cat.
And you're welcome anytime. Although I must point out, sometimes there's 3 dead cats. Sometimes there's only 1. So that might throw you a little bit. I would love to know where you're watching from today, if you can put that in the comments. Also, if you have any requests for next week or future weeks, I'd love to know what those might be. This is a request that I have had several people have made several times over the last few weeks. A song I haven't played in forever. So it's good to dig it out. It's about the only unsolved skyjacking in aviation history. A man by the name of D.B. Cooper.
Briefcase as he stepped aboard the plane. Northwest 305 from Portland, and the tarmac in the rain. Dressed in loafers and a dark suit, underneath an overcoat. White shirt and a black tie that was loose around the throat. It was Thanksgiving Eve, 1971. He had on a pair of sunglasses, but there wasn't any sun. He used the name Dan Cooper, and he paid for his flight. That was going to Seattle on a cold and nasty night. The taxi to the runway, then took to the sky. And Cooper let a little bit of time go by before he called the flight attendant, told her to stay calm, said inside his briefcase he had a little bomb, $200,000 in $20 bills, plane, crew, some parachutes, and no one would get killed. They landed in Seattle, the authorities complied, all the passengers were let out, the crew remained inside. For Portland, just Cooper and the crew. Wasn't quite an hour before he bid them all adieu. First he tipped each one of them $200 apiece. He was such a nice man, they later told police. And at a little service doorway in the rear of the plane, Cooper jumped into the darkness, freezing rain. They say that with the wind chill, it was 59 below. Not much chance that he'd survive, but if he did, where did he go? Some guy who lived in Oregon by the name of D.B. Cooper was arrested and interrogated by a couple of state troopers, but it wasn't him who did it. Lawmen had no luck, but the papers ran the story, and the name D.B. Cooper stuck. It was on a family picnic 8 or 9 years later. 6,000 muddy dollars were found by a second grader. It was on the banks of the Columbia, would have been on his route, and the authorities confirmed that it was part of Cooper's loot. Just who D.B. Cooper was today is still a mystery. It's the only unsolved skyjacking in aviation history. No one's ever tried to claim the very large reward. No one's ever seen him since he bailed out the door. But divers searched the river every summer still for an article of clothing or a $20 bill, a briefcase or a wallet, some kind of ID to determine who this D.B. Cooper might actually be.
Some years ago, I picked a bunch of fruit. I loved working in the orchards. It was probably my favorite work I ever did outside of music. I picked for 3 seasons of citrus fruit in Israel, and I picked 2 seasons of apples and pears in Washington State near Wenatchee, a little community just outside Wenatchee called Malaga. I was the only picker that was not an illegal from Mexico, and they all had to worry about the immigration police coming around, which would try to catch these workers and deport them. I was the only one that didn't have to worry about that. Everybody had a signal amongst ourselves, the pickers, of the immigration police, which in Spanish is called La Migra, and if La Migra ever showed up on the orchard for a surprise visit, the first person to see them would whistle. And everybody else would quit work right there on the spot. They'd jump off their ladders, drop their fruit sacks to the ground, run into the trees and disappear until La Migra was gone. And I wrote my friends this song. It's called La Migra Viene, which means the immigration police is coming. And the other Spanish word in it is andale, and that means run.
Mornings were chilly, the air was crisp as a stripe of red or a golden delicious. Couple tortillas, coffee with rum. By the time the sun came up, we'd have half a bit done. Trees like temples, was a holiness to them. Picked out the bottoms and then all the way through them. Up on a ladder, out on a limb. Trees are like temples and I love being in them. Fernando amazed me, he was the quickest. 18 bins in a day he could do. I got 9 once, but that was with big fruit. Only worked as hard as I needed to. Sometimes though, on the nicest of days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They were yelling, La migra, la migra, la migra viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La migra was coming. My Spanish was stiff, a little too formal. I cracked them up, they taught me to cuss. Even better was cussing when they all went running. Even better was cussing at the big yellow bus. The van brought them in till the bus was loaded. Sometimes whole families, well, at least you'd have thought, they'd be back the next week on their ladders, giving new names the next time they got caught. Sometimes though, on the nicest days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They were yelling, La migra, la migra, la migra viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La migra was coming. La migra, la migra, la migra viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La migra was coming.
Well, I think I'm going to switch fruits. Move from apples to peaches. And that means switching instruments. So let me just turn this. Now, down in Texas is a folk festival called the Kerrville Folk Festival that lasts for 18 days. And about 25 years ago, I had a girlfriend named Annie. We went down together and stayed all 18 days, and there came a time when we needed to head into town and replenish our supplies, buy some groceries and do laundry, I suppose. And on the way in, we saw a man selling peaches off the back of his truck on the side of the road, just a mile or two up from the entrance to the festival. So we pulled over because Fredericksburg, Texas peaches are fantastic. It was 100 degrees out that day, and we just wanted to get our peaches and get on our way, but the man selling them was one of those people that liked to talk and talk and talk and talk. And he kept us there for quite a while until out of nowhere he suddenly apologized because he hadn't introduced himself to us. So he told us his name was Bill, and I told him my name was Chuck, and that was Annie. And he said, Annie, huh? I had a woman once in my life named Annie. And he told us this little story.
We stopped for peaches, little roadside stand. Man said his name was Bill. Said, I'm Chuck, and this is Annie. He said Annie was the one and only true love of his life. They met at his wedding, but by then he had a wife. It was during the reception in the spring of '64. She, his newlywed's best friend, followed him out the ballroom door. Maybe his ring got smaller, maybe his finger swelled, maybe he made a big mistake, maybe time would tell. Bill asked, do you feel what I feel? And he said, I do. Bill was at a loss, wondering now what should he do. He did what he had to. He'd just taken a wife. She would take good care of him for the rest of her life. Bill and Annie fought the urge. They saw each other often. She was there in black. The day Bill's wife lay in her coffin. By then she'd gotten married. By then she'd moved away. She'd asked Bill for his blessings. Said it was okay. Bill said, taste the peaches. And he cut us each a slice. They were a little on the small side, but they sure tasted nice. Do you think I did the right thing? Bill asked, though I knew he knew. So I answered with a question. Asked him, Bill, do you? He said, Annie, pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you, Chuck. Annie and I, we drove away in Annie's pickup truck with a box of 20 peaches and a homegrown tomato too. A couple of things to think about every now and then. I do.
My cousin Jason took me out to brunch on my birthday a few years back, and he told me he had just had an epiphany that morning. And I said, Jason, do tell. And he told me that he had just decided he no longer cared to be right about anything. He just wanted to be happy. So I thought, Jason, I need to write a song from this. And I went home and I wrote this. But I did it in this key.
I collected my prize. I took first place. runner-up. Sad look on her face. Didn't drink the champagne. Left my ribbon there too. Okay, so I won. What good did it do? Okay, so I won. What good did it do? I stood with conviction. I put up a fight for the truth as I saw it, for peace, love, and light. I fought off the darkness for the first round or two. I got my licks in. What good did it do? I got my licks in. What good did it do? In the end, I was right. Upon further review, all those things I was saying proved to be true. I got an admission, an apology too. In the end, I was right. What good did it do? In the end, I was right. Try to live by my morals. I spoke my mind. Some friends got offended. One or two they resigned. I was just being honest. They already knew. They just tried to remind them. What good did it do? I tried to remind them. And I could hold a grudge. I could probably hold two. If I didn't learn to budge, I could end up holding quite a few. I didn't like being angry. It's not enough being right. I'd rather be happy. That's a hard enough fight. I'd rather be happy all of my might than to sit here and stew. What good did it do? Sit here and stew. What good would it do? I'd rather be happy, happy with you.
Let's see what's next on the list here. Oh, here's a troublemaker. Here's a song that's a real troublemaker.
Ashes from the wood stove filling up the bucket, spilling out the top, so where am I gonna chuck it? Take it out the back door to where I never mow. Find a little spot that no one will ever go. Gonna take it out back, dump it in the river. Take it out back and throw it in the woods. Take it out back and chuck it down the hillside. We'll keep the front yard looking good. That old TV quit on me, brother, 10 years ago, so I got me another. First one sitting out by the porch swing with the fridge and the stove and a bunch of other things. Gonna take 'em out back, dump 'em in the river. Take 'em out back and throw 'em in the woods. Take 'em out back and chuck 'em down the hillside. We'll keep the front yard looking good. That rusted old car's got no motor. If it had any gas, I would try to explode her. Hubcaps, hoods, and old transmissions. Gonna take 'em to the river, gonna make for good fishing. Gonna take 'em out back, dump 'em in the river. Take 'em out back and throw 'em in the woods. Take 'em out back and chuck 'em down the hillside. We'll keep the front yard looking good. It's all turned green, and the chicken bones that have been picked clean. Some on the counter, some on the floor. Let's take 'em out the back door. Gonna take 'em out back, dump 'em in the river. Take 'em out back and throw 'em in the woods. Take 'em out back and chuck 'em down the hillside. We'll keep the front yard looking good. We'll keep the front yard looking good. I got to keep up in the neighborhood.
I called that song a troublemaker, and there's a good reason for that. It once caused somebody to write a very irate email. They actually wrote it to some folks that covered this song years ago, but I have a copy of it, and I'm going to read it out to you. A friend recently gave me a copy of your new CD. I loved the gently flowing instrumentals and the sweet vocals. I was enjoying it as I drove along until I got to track 5. I consider myself an environmentalist and was appalled to hear you singing the praise of front yard cleanup by means of throwing all your trash in the river. What was Chuck Brodsky thinking when he wrote that? See if I can remember. I later read that you find this to be one of your stage favorites in a PSA. Whose public are you serving? How environmentally insensitive can you get? At first I thought, oh, it's only ashes. It'll just choke a few aquatic plants. But then the TV and the old car with all of its carcinogenic fluids seeping out gradually for years, killing every living thing in this poor ecosystem. If you continue to perform this song in public, please do not sing it for children. I'm sure they will get the wrong idea. I would throw this CD away if I was sure I knew where it was going. Troublemaker. So, I just read something very interesting. I already knew that the most expensive baseball ever sold at auction was the home run ball for Mark McGwire's 70th home run. And it sold for $3 million. But I just read an article from about a week or two ago that said that ball has depreciated so much that today it's probably worth less than $750,000. So there you go. I hope he didn't buy it as an investment. I hope he just bought it because it was something he had to have. I once bought a baseball because I had to have it, and it's the only baseball I've ever paid for in my life. It's the only autograph I've ever paid for in my life. But it was this one. I had to have a Bob Gibson ball. And I found this for $20. And the reason I had to have a Bob Gibson ball was because my guitar is named Bob Gibson. As you can see, it's a Gibson guitar. And it's named Bob Gibson. So, that Mark McGwire home run and the Barry Bonds home run, that the one that set the season record with the asterisk, and Barry Bonds' final home run of his career, that one also with the asterisk, inspired this song here.
Flashbulbs were going off as the batter approached the plate. They had to replace the balls with ones they could authenticate. Well, everyone knew it was gone. One swing was all it took. The batter stood and admired it. The pitcher didn't even look. Now the guy who came up with the ball, the one on the bottom of the pile, he was missing a couple of teeth from his $1 million smile. He was sporting 2 black eyes. He was missing most of an ear. His shirt was torn and tattered, and his hair was soaked with beer. Going, gone, ought to make a nice souvenir. Well, you can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. Security led him away. They pretty well saved his skin. There was a doctor in the house, but some stitches in his chin. Now the ball would pass the test under ultraviolet light. There was the asterisk. Yeah, that was the ball, all right. Now the guy who came up with the ball, he was famous for 3 or 4 days. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Yeah, everyone knew his face. Letterman wanted him on. So did Oprah and Conan O'Brien. The White House receptionist phoned to say that the president was on the line. Going, gone, ought to make a nice souvenir. We can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. The guy who came up with the ball, he heard from the IRS. They wanted their $500,000, not 1 penny less. We're going once, going twice. Sold to the auctioneer. But who can really say what it's worth? Except maybe the price of an ear. Now the guy who acquired the ball could not tell you which was which. Fastball from a changeup. No, he was just filthy rich. And his boy took it to school. His boy won show and tell. But the son of the guy who came up with the ball wished his dad didn't have to sell. Going, gone, ought to make a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out of here. Going, gone, it should have made a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye.
There's a great story behind this next song. The song is about a doll named Gerda. And Gerda belonged to a little girl once upon a time named Eva Mudvall. And Eva and her family were rounded up by the Nazis, taken to a concentration camp, and somehow Gerda managed to survive the trip. Eva managed to smuggle her aboard the cattle car and managed to get her into the camp. And the 2 of them survived the war. And they both lived to a very ripe old age together. And then Eva started to think about what might happen to Gerda after she was gone. She didn't want Gerda to end up in a secondhand store or be given to a child to play with. So the more she thought about it, the more she decided she needed to donate Gerda to the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, Yad Vashem. And she wrote Gerda a farewell letter, which you can Google. If you Google Gerda the doll, and maybe add the word Holocaust, it will surely come up, and it's worth reading. I do have a copy of it somewhere, and I just forgot to get it out for this. But in that letter, she explained to Gerda that soon there wouldn't be any humans left who had survived the war and who would be able to tell the world what they had seen. And so it was up to the toys and the dolls to tell the world what they had witnessed. So this is called Gerda.
Once you were a stowaway. You kept quiet for 3 whole days. Even when they'd stop the train, you never cried, you never once complained. When what could never happen did. Not all at once, it was bit by bit. Some things a small doll shouldn't see. Tell them, Gerda, what you saw with me. 'Cause soon you will be all that's left. The precious things that were somehow kept. The little girls, the little boys, their favorite dolls and their favorite toys. Gerda, you're my best friend. You never let go of me back then. I'm leaving you with a heavy heart. Goodbye, my Gerda, now we must part. Gerda, I know my time is near. There's a museum and it's far from here. A lot of other dolls live there too. Some who might have had it even worse than you. The ones who made it to Jerusalem. They're asking if you might want to come and live with them. I think it's something, Gerda, you should do. I told them I would have a talk with you. Here, let me fill your china cup. Just like when we pretend we were all grown up. Gerda, go and tell the world about all the little boys and all the little girls. Tell them, Gerda, what we saw. The good and the bad, Gerda, tell it all. The unspeakable must be spoken. Tell of the spirit that refused to be broken. Tell of the piles of books we saw burning. How it didn't stop the teaching and it didn't stop the learning. Don't forget to tell about the games we played. It's alright, you can tell them we were afraid. Tell of the songs we had in our heads that helped us remember and helped us forget. How we'd paint and how we'd draw. How pretty it was when the snow would fall. And tell them, Gerda, how it was before. The pretty clothes we always wore. The dinner table on a Friday night. We'd say the prayers by candlelight. And how what could never happen did. Not all at once, it was bit by bit. Things a small doll shouldn't see. Tell them, Gerda, what you saw with me.
So I have a couple more to do for you, a few more. Before I do, I just want to point out again that today is by tips and donations only. I never charge a ticket price, so I leave that up to you. The URLs for my tip jars unfortunately are prevented by YouTube from being displayed in the chat window, but you can find them just below the video window you're watching in the description of the video, just above the comments. I have all of the URLs in there, and also the screen at the beginning of the show before I start playing live, and the screen that will be there at the end of the show when I finish playing live, all have the various URLs. I would love to have you as my patron, and as I mentioned earlier, if you sign up before Tuesday, you can join the chat that I'm doing Tuesday at noon or Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock, just for patrons, where you can ask me any questions you want, and who knows how that will go, but we're going to have some fun. I know that. It's kind of ironic to sing this next song in a live stream. It's a song I wrote about a dear friend of mine that lives over in East Tennessee, just maybe about an hour from me. And I've known this fellow for 30 years, I suppose, and one of my dearest friends in the entire world. But he is as close to being a Luddite as is humanly possible. He lives the old style mountain man life, salt to the earth. I wrote the song for him, but like I said, it feels very ironic singing it in a live stream.
Everyone's wearing the latest designs. The newest commercials play with their minds. But there's nothing to wish for, nothing to chase for a man out of time, a man out of place. He doesn't dress up or go shopping for clothes. He has comfortable shoes, he has 2 pair of those. He doesn't go far, he doesn't go fast. He fixes the things that were made to last. He's got no cell phone, no answering machine. His old typewriter, it has no screen. He's never been to cyberspace. Man out of time, man out of place, man out of time in his house in the woods. He'd like to just keep it that way if he could. The buildings go up, the people move closer. First you have your chainsaws and then the bulldozers. Man out of time, man out of place, man out of step with the whole human race. He doesn't consume, he tries not to waste. He's a man out of time, he's a man out of place. Well, any books that he owns are long out of print. He doesn't like Bill or Hillary Clinton. He's a stubborn man, and he's stuck in his ways. Man out of time, man out of place. You got gadgets that cook, you've got gadgets that clean, you've got gadgets that do everything in between. He still does things the old-fashioned ways. Man out of time, man out of place. He's got no checkbook and no credit cards, just some old keepsakes and replacement parts. He's off the grid, he leaves no trace. He keeps his cash in an old suitcase, and he doesn't appear on anyone's list. A case could be made that he doesn't exist. He's not showing up in the database. Man out of time, man out of place, man out of time, man out of place, man out of step with the whole human race. He doesn't consume and he tries not to waste. He's a man out of time, he's a man out of place. But now people may judge this existence of his, but he's perfectly happy the way that it is. And still you figure the feds must be building a case against the man out of time, man out of place, man out of time, man out of place, man out of step with the whole rat race. He doesn't consume and he tries not to waste. He's a man out of time, he's a man out of place.
to sing 2 more songs now. This one here is one that I wrote at the Lamb's Retreat for Songwriters that you heard me talk so much about through the years. The premise of this song was to write a song remembering when that day finally came when I could beat my dad at ping pong. Now, fortunately, we had a table down in the basement. We used to play almost every night. Before I sing this song, I want to mention a couple more things. If you live in the Asheville, North Carolina area, I have my very final show in my entire calendar next Friday night, this coming Friday night, August 7th. It's an outdoor patio show at Isis Music Hall in West Asheville. And my good friend Chris Rosser will be backing me on piano and bass and guitar. So it'll be a special night. I don't know when my next booking is ever going to happen, but we're going to certainly celebrate the last one. Also, if you're not a YouTube subscriber to my channel, that would be very easy for you to do. Just look below the video window and click on subscribe. I'd love for you to do that. I need to boost my numbers. Another thing you could do for me that would really help me would be if you put my videos on in the background, even when you go to sleep, and let them run all day, all night in the background. One video ends and the next one starts, and when that one ends, the next one starts. I really have to boost my viewing hours, cumulative viewing hours for the past 365 days to get to a point where I can monetize. So I'm at about 1,000 hours, and I need to get to 4,000 hours, and that could happen really fast if folks like you will just let my videos run in the background, turn the sound off, let them just play, and really rack them up. Once again, I want to say thanks to Barbie Angel for helping out. And I know it's very frustrating that YouTube, for some reason, won't allow her to drop in the URLs for where to tip me. But like I mentioned earlier, they're right there under the window you're watching. If you have full screen, you'll have to collapse it a little bit. But just below the video window, in the description of this video, I put all the URLs, and you'll see it also at the end of the screen. Now, a couple ways that you could help if you're so inclined. I'm offering private concerts over Zoom for you and your friends and family. I'm also offering guitar lessons and songwriting critiques, classes, whatever you would like to design. We can do that together, but I would really love to help you in any way that I can. You would be helping me tremendously as well. So I'm going to sing this song for my dad.
When I was a little feller, ping pong table in the cellar, every night just after dinner, he used to let me be the winner. The ones that could get over the net, he'd pretend like he could not get. Deliberately he'd hit them wide, but only barely missed the sides. And everything he'd hit real soft, he could turn it on and off. But just to show me that he could, he'd almost hit one through the wood. My daddy was a champion, me, I was his only son. He taught me everything he knew, and I've shown him a thing or two. Played the ball with lots of spin, taught me how to serve like him. I was 11, maybe 10, starting to play a little better then. And I started talking trash, finally he met his match. 16, maybe 17, taut as the net was between us. He'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam another and I'd slam another. Back and forth attacking each other. It was spin and counter spin. Neither could let the other win. Things would never be the same when I learned to beat him at his game. But now we play like gentlemen, volley back and forth again. Neither of us keeping score, we don't need to anymore. Now I don't want to slam it all, don't want him to have to chase the ball. Let's just keep this thing in play. That's the whole point anyway.
Thank you for watching today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do one more song for you, and I'm going to switch to the piano for it. I want to dedicate this song to my mom. Also, oops. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you before. I want to show you one more baseball. That's a 1994 World Series baseball. And you know what's so odd about it is that there was no World Series in 1994.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. If you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble, sometimes you'll just lie down, sometimes you'll just get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color, you might lose a little faith. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Each other going, and we show each other signs. Gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. Got a little manna. It was a gift from someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Each other going, and we show each other signs.
Stay safe, wear your masks, wash your hands. Hope to see you next week. Be well. Thank you.